into sleep. The stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen, and they're there for you alone. You are the everything I think about this world. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Closet Recording Studio. I'm Andrew. This is Bad Covers and Bonus Analysis. You heard a little bit of R.E.M's You Are the Everything right before this. So we're going to talk about that song today, the lyrics and like kind of how it's put together. We're not going to do a whole lot of explanation of like what the song's about, because that's for Michael Stipe to say, really. But we have to talk about that a little bit in the context of like how the song is assembled and put together and that kind of thing. So this is from their album Green, which was 1988, 89, like late 80s. And this is not one of the more famous songs on the record, but it is one that it's one of the deeper cuts that most big time R.E.M. fans really love. It is. Michael Stipe always said, like, I don't write love songs. This is sort of a love song, or as close as he gets. I mean, he said that after he wrote a song called "The One I Love," which is, we'll talk about that in a different episode. But this is a pretty clear sort of love song, I guess, but it is very introspective too. He doesn't really write a super direct love song until the late 90s with At My Most Beautiful, but we'll get to that also later. So we have these lyrics here, and this is based, I mean, he's got like a mandolin banjo kind of thing going on in this one too, but it's just a very simple, let me put it over here on the screen where you can see it, just a G to D vamp. I'm very scared for this one, I'm very scared for me. Just that back and forth until it gets to the second half of the verse, where he goes into C instead of just that back and forth. Anyway, so it's a very musically simple song, like the chord structure and stuff like that. But this is another example of Michael Stipe taking a really simple chord progression and making something really beautiful out of it. So anyway, he says, sometimes I feel like I can't even sing. So this song actually has I's in it and U's in it. So this is already you have a relationship between the speaker and ourselves. He may not be addressing us necessarily, but we assume he is because her is here too, right? And this is, and he says, we'll talk about that. He sees the beauty, right? So he is talking about another like beloved person that he's looking at. So the song is not addressed to that person. It's addressed to sort of us. Anyway, so it's an interesting place to start. Sometimes I feel like I can't even sing, and this is, a professional singer. I'm very scared for this world, and I'm very scared for me. That repetition of "I'm very scared" gives us an idea of how serious it is. Like, if he feels so scared that he can't sing, which is his livelihood, then that's pretty serious. I'm very scared for this world and very scared for me. And obviously me is part of this world too. There are things happening around him. The album Green and some of the previous albums too are very climate change and climate and earth-centric, like concerned about the environment. That's been one of Michael Stipe's things for a long, long time. So he's probably referring to that. Is scared for the world, like the people around him, but it also is scared for himself too. This "eviscerate your memory" is one of those lines that sticks in my brain over and over and over again. To eviscerate is to completely destroy, to take apart, to cut up into pieces, to annihilate, right? Um, Eviscerate your memory. So get rid of your memory. But the phrasing is so beautiful. Eviscerate your memory, like the rhythm of it. Eviscerate your memory. That iambicness of that line. He's about to narrate a flashback though, so it's a beautifully written line. Here's a scene, right? He tells you here's a scene, and then the rest of this here is the scene that he's narrating, right? You're in the back seat laying down, the windows wrap around to the sound of the travel and the engine, and all you hear is time stand still and travel. So the literal situation is somebody's like laying down in the back seat of the car while somebody else is driving it, right? And you're going down the road, and you have the hum of the road, the sound of the travel and the engine. What a great way to say, like, you know the sound when you're traveling, and it could be on a train. This is probably a car because it's the back seat, but where you are not the one responsible for the travel, right? You're not driving, so you get that kind of zoned out feeling where I don't want to be all like philosophical, but like I feel all one with the road or whatever. You just kind of zone out to what's happening around you, and you kind of have that hum that becomes kind of white noise behind you. But to say that the windows wrap around, so you've got, and they do, right? I mean, you have the windshield and the side windows and the back window, to the sound of the travel and the engine. That phrase, the sound of the travel and the engine. I don't know, that just feels beautiful to me. It is a very simple way to capture the feeling, but it puts me there, which is what great writing does. All you hear is time stand still and travel and feel such peace and absolute, the stillness still that doesn't end. So this is an interesting line break right here after absolute, because he's winking at and feel such peace and absolute stillness, but that's not what the line says. The feel such peace and absolute, like, he is kind of winking back at peace. The I don't know. It's like everything everywhere all at once, right? I mean, there's like an absolute sense of everything being there, and it's peaceful, and you're kind of transcending the moment that you're sitting in. The stillness still that doesn't end. So, and then he's going to sleep, right? But slowly drifts into sleep. To be clear, he's not saying the person is drifting into sleep. He's saying the stillness still that doesn't end but slowly drifts into sleep. So the stillness is the subject of that sentence. So the stillness is what drifts into sleep, which is cool. I mean, really, the person probably is falling asleep or starting to fall asleep, but the stillness that drifts into sleep, that is, again, a beautiful way to say that, right? All the S's, all the S sounds in these lines, all you have stands still, is, time stands still, and trove. Such peace and absolute stillness still that doesn't end but slowly drifts into sleep, right? You have all of those S sounds. That is kind of goes along with the that is kind of what the air sounds like going by cars. Like if you crack open the window, you hear the shh sound. I mean, that's kind of what it's mirroring, right? Which is pretty cool. So the person's looking out the window, right? The stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen, and they're there for you. For you alone, you are the everything. What an amazing, amazing sentiment. Like, the stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen. We think of stars being, and they are, like millions of light years away, right? So far, and lots of people look at them in the sense that it makes them feel small and insignificant. But it's almost like he's portraying you, the listener, as a star too, right? They're the greatest thing you've ever seen, and they're there for you. Like they're making this beautiful display, and we know enough about science to know, and he would have knows enough about science to know that the light that you're seeing from the stars now is, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years old, right? Is because it's not reaching the Earth until much later. So, but to think about that being there for you, like you're it's almost like this person is the only person in existence, and the stars are shining just for them, which is a cool sentiment. And this person is not even the only person in the story, right? There's I can't even sing. There is the person that's being addressed. There's her in the second verse. In the literal sense, in this story here, there's somebody driving the car, right? So there's at least one other person experiencing this reality with them too. Most of this verse bounces these chords back and forth. Very scared of me, eviscerate your memory. Right, it just goes back and forth. But once it gets to the stars part, the stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen. It just stays on the D right there. Are the greatest you've ever seen, and they're there for you. For you alone, you are the everything. And then it goes on to the G, back to the G to go to the next verse. But the chord there, it stays on the same chord there, which kind of holds your attention, right? And that's what it wants you to do too. Is the song wants you, and the lyrics all want you to like hold your attention on this moment where there was nothing. It felt like there was nothing else in the world. Right? He talks about at the beginning. Sometimes he feels like he can't even sing, and very scared for this world, very scared for me. The end of this verse is the opposite of that, right? It is the beginning of his thoughts and about all of the stuff going on in the world are flying everywhere. But by the end, it's just him and the stars, essentially, right? And realizing that you alone, you are the everything. Like this is what is important. So it is a shift of focus. It is a shift of what's important too. Anyway, so we have the second verse. I think about this world a lot and I cry. So he's going back to the same. Let me put a different color on here for this one. Think about this world a lot and I cry, and I've seen the films in the eyes, right? So that's the same. It's not exactly the same right here, but it's similar to that. Even he starts it with, here's a scene, and this is seeing the films and eyes, right? That's about sight. All of those things are about sight, and they're filmmaking terms too, right? But then he's narrating, the rest of this again is narrating another moment where the world and all the problems of the world kind of disappear. This time, in the first verse, the object of sight, or the situation is he's in the backseat of a car, or the person is in the backseat of the car, and everything kind of fades out around him, and he's looking out the window at the stars, and it makes him feel like part of everything, and like this is the important thing, not all this other crap that's going on in the world. In this one, he sees this woman in the kitchen. I'm in this kitchen. Everything is beautiful, and she is so beautiful. So, again, it's a narrowing of the focus here in these three lines right here. I'm in the kitchen, so you have the whole room. You have sinks and dishwashers and everything. Everything is beautiful. That's a wide range of things, right? That is, it could be the appliances, though he's probably not talking about the appliances. He's talking about the weather. He's talking about stuff outside, whatever. Everything is beautiful, and she is so beautiful, which obviously because she is part of everything. Um, but everything is beautiful, and she is so beautiful. She is so young and old. Like there's a timelessness to that beauty too. And I look at her and I see the beauty of the light of music. Um, so she is animated somehow. This is a moment frozen in time, but she's also kind of animated in the sense by music. Maybe she's singing, or she's a musical person, and it's people like that. It just seems to like flow out of them, even when they're not singing or playing music. They just feel that way. Then there's other people in the house too. There's voices talking somewhere in the house. There's late spring, and you're drifting off to sleep with your teeth in your mouth. That's such a fun line, right? Um, Again, so both of the verses, he's falling asleep, or the narrator's falling asleep, or he's really talking to you, are falling asleep. With your teeth in your mouth. I don't know what exactly to say about the teeth in your mouth line. It's another one of those eviscerate your memory lines that I really love, that I don't know that I 100% understand. Um, it's a grounding detail, I guess, right? They're in your mouth just like they always are, and it's a comforting and a steadying kind of thing, I guess. But then he brings us together, right? You are here with me. You are here with me. He repeats that, and obviously, when you repeat stuff, that's important. You have been here, and you are everything. So the stars, um, in the first verse make him realize that he alone is the everything, or you alone, or you are the everything. But this you, it's the same one in the second verse, right? We assume. Um, if you are the everything, then you are also here with me, and you have been here too, right? Not just you are here now, but you have been here a long time, and you are everything. You can also, I mean, it's not unreasonable given these details that the you is the earth at some sense too. I mean, obviously he's talking to us too, but it's late spring and you're drifting off to sleep. Like it's not bursting into flower anymore, and the earth is everything, or the world is everything. I mean, everything is beautiful, and she is so beautiful. She is so young and old. Part of the world too. I don't know. Maybe that's a horrible misreading of that, but it seems like it makes sense, given what we know about Michael Stipe. And finally, to close this off, like the end of the song is he goes back to the first and sings this whole entire first verse again. As we know, when you repeat something, it's super important. It's interesting because the first verse, which becomes the last one, the person feels not alone, but away from people alone, like feels one with the universe, I guess you could say. The second verse, the middle one, the person is directly addressing another human being that is in the space with them. So it goes from being alone with the universe, sort of, even though they're not really alone, or feeling alone with the universe, and that not being a bad feeling either, to being together with this other person, and then separate again, and saying, for you alone, you are the everything. It goes like this. The stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen, and they're there for you alone. You are the everything. Right. right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you want to subscribe to help us boost the YouTube algorithm or do some likes or comments or whatever, that would be super cool. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out, and we'll get you next time. Take care, y'all. Very scared of this world, very scared for me. Eviscerate your memory, and here's a scene. You're in the backseat, laying down the windows wrap around you all the sound of the travel and the engine. All you hear is time stand still in travel. You feel such peace and absolute, the stillness there that doesn't end, but slowly drifts into sleep. The stars are the greatest thing you've ever seen, and they're there for you. For you